You open your eyes to the dense, acrid scent of mold mingling with the damp wood that saturates the stagnant air of the cabin. The boat's endless creak beneath you whispers like a haunting lullaby, slow and unyielding, as if the vessel itself breathes with a weary shudder. Your hands brush against the rough, frayed ropes dangling nearby, coarse and cold, while the aged floorboards groan faintly under the hesitant weight of your footsteps. With each gentle sway of the ship, a distant slap of the river lapping against the hull echoes through the stillness, wrapping you in a cold shroud that seems to stretch far beyond this vessel into the ancient, restless Nile. The sun's pale, watery light filters dimly through the narrow porthole, casting a faded blue veil over everything it touches. Ancient urns, linen cloth rotting in silence, shadows pooling in corners where dust refuses to settle. The air tastes faintly of earth and forgotten things, a smell so dense it clings to your throat. Outside, the river drifts sluggishly, surrounded on both banks by ghostly reeds and brittle papyrus, their silhouettes flickering in the early morning mist. The landscape lies heavy and silent, as if time itself pauses to watch. If today a dead phone battery chills your nerves, imagine how it must have felt so long ago to lose firewood in the cold night, stripped of warmth or light. A slow descent into darkness. Your body moves through ritual, adjusting the tattered sails, scanning the horizon, where nothing stirs but a faint ripple here and there. Your fingers linger on the weathered wood of the railing, rough and splintering, while your ears pick up on the subtle symphony of the boat, the creak, the slap, the whisper of the Nile's breath against the hull. The murmurs of the night hover close, barely audible but unmistakable. A hush settles across the deck, broken only by the irregular drip of water from overhead rigging. Somewhere within the vessel, a faint rustle of linen makes you pause, heart catching in a tired beat. You steal a glance at the urns stacked in shadow, their surfaces mottled with the stains of time. In this place, you are the watcher, the guardian between worlds. The weight of that role settles in your bones like cold stone. Suddenly, silence deepens as all other sounds fall away. The bark of dogs fades into nothing. Even the usual creaking seems to hold its breath. Across the darkened deck, a quiet pulse of tension threads through the air. Your fellow watchers exchange glances, subtle but charged, as if the river itself has drawn a sharp breath. Your hand tightens on the railing, knuckles pale, but your face stays calm. You feel the heavy presence of something unseen, waiting, watching. The night is no longer just a backdrop. It is a living shadow you must navigate. Hey, before Morpheus takes you fully tonight, make sure you're still subscribed Sometimes the button disappears, and I don't want you to miss out on the next sleepy stories. While you're here, leave a like, soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it there? Your presence keeps this little haven alive. Thanks for being part of it. You stand still for a moment, your breaths steady but shallow, as the quiet pulls around you like a slowly tightening noose. The lingering chill wraps itself around your spine, slipping beneath the thin fabric of your shirt, pressing cold and unyielding. Each creak beneath your feet rises like a whispered secret, reminding you of the fragile hold this ancient vessel keeps on the river. The faintest glimmer of dawn edges the horizon now, a muted promise beyond the faded patina of the cabin's shadows. You move tentatively to the small wooden table nearby, your fingers tracing the grain, worn smooth by untold years, splintered only where time has taken its toll. A thin layer of dust clings stubbornly, disturbed by your touch as motes of light hang suspended in the cold air. Your eyes follow the worn ropes dangling over the side, their fibers unraveling slowly, thread by thread, like memories slipping from grasp. You reach out, fingertips grazing the rough texture, feeling the rigid stiffness of salt and age. The smell of wet rope mingles faintly with the thicker odor of wood rot and settled dust, a scent heavier somehow, pressing down like the humidity of the riverbank at midnight. Outside, the Nile lays calm but watchful. You sense the subtle, constant caress of water lapping against the hull, a restless breath beneath the bow. The river's slow murmur threads its way into your mind, a quiet rhythm that settles and disturbs in the same pulse. Through the narrow porthole, the morning light shifts slightly, streaks of pale gray pushing aside shades of blue, casting fleeting shapes on the cracked ceiling above. Your hands find the tattered sail next, its heavy canvas hanging limply like tired skin. You fold and unfold the fabric carefully, each movement slow and deliberate. The roughness presses against your palms, textured with the cracked grain of countless dawns and dusks. You notice the faint salt stains where the spray has settled over years, frozen traces of former storms that now rest in silence. A distant sound, barely perceptible yet undeniably present, pulls your attention, the soft scrape of linen rustling somewhere within the deeper shadows of the cabin. Your pulse quickens imperceptibly, a dull ache at the base of your throat. You shift slowly, alert, but no shape emerges from the gloom. Only the relentless whisper of the Nile's breath, pressing closer against the wooden ribs of the boat. The air tastes heavier now, saturated with the scent of damp earth and old, spent fires, long since extinguished. Your eyes flick to the urns again, their cracked surfaces catching the weak light like fractured promises. You reach instinctively for one, tracing a ring of jagged stains that circle its perimeter, as if time has left a scar that will never fade. Slowly, you step toward the rear of the deck, where the railing splinters beneath your fingers, but feels sturdy still, an anchor against the ever-shifting motion of the river. The boat rocks gently with the current, each sway a silent echo of something out of reach, something ancient and watching. You close your eyes, letting your senses stretch into the shadows, longing for a touchstone amid the drifting silence. Your mind drifts to the thin layer of papyrus pressed between your palm and the rough wood, a scrap folded carefully, etched with faded characters that crawl like ancient whispers across yellowed parchment. You unfold it deliberately, each crease cracking softly. The symbols trace stories long forgotten by those who once sailed this same water, their voices wrapped in the wet soil and river mist. A shiver rolls down your spine as a solitary voice seems to flicker just beyond your hearing, a rhythm, a cadence that teases your memory without yielding meaning. The night's tension tightens again, threading thin as a spiderweb across your skin. Yet beneath it, a faint warmth flickers, distant and fragile, like the last embers clinging to cold ashes. You take a slow, deliberate breath, the stale air filling your lungs with the promise of endurance. Your fingers brush over the railing once more, tracing the grooves worn smooth by countless hands before yours. The pulse of the boat matches your heartbeat, slow and steady, tethering you to this floating fragment of history and mystery. The distant silhouette of a single waterbird kites through the hazy horizon, its wings barely stirring the heavy air. You watch it disappear beyond the mist, a fragile thread between this world and the endless sky. The quiet deepens, thickening around you like a cloak woven from dusk and shadow. Your gaze returns inward to the small scrap of papyrus. You fold it back with care and tuck it inside your shirt, close to your heart, a secret shield against the river's breath and the watching darkness. The boat creaks again, slower, heavier, as if preparing for some unseen drift. Suddenly, from somewhere deep below deck, a soft, deliberate tap, like a slow knock, fractures the silence. Your breath catches, the sound repeats, steady now, measured, deliberate. You don't move, you listen. Then, in the depths beneath the waterline, a faint glow begins to pulse, an eerie light, pale and wavering, raising questions that the day's first rays cannot yet answer. And, as the river sighs against the hull, your heart tightens with the knowledge that whatever waits ahead has already begun to make itself known. You linger at the edge of the dimly lit deck, the wooden railing rough beneath your fingers, its splintered grain a quiet reminder of the years it has borne silent witness to countless dawns and dusks. The boat tilts gently beneath your weight, the lazy pulse of the Nile lapping softly, a slow and steady breath beneath your feet. The morning light, struggles through the haze, a fragile silver thread teasing the heavy blue shadows that still cling stubbornly to the corners of the cabin. Your breath hangs visible, thin and hesitant in the damp air as you move inward, toes brushing against the worn boards, slick with moisture. You hesitate, every sound sharpened, the distant scratch of wood against wood, the faint shuffle of unseen fabric somewhere deeper in the bowels of the vessel. The muted rhythm of the river wraps around you, wrapping thick and slow, like a whispered lullaby with no end. You cross to the small hatch door leading below deck, fingers trailing over the metal ring, cooler than the touch of water on stone. The tap, steady and deliberate, repeats once more. You hold your breath, the tight catch in your chest echoing the fragile tension laid thin like cobwebs across everything. With slow certainty, you lift the ring and ease the hatch open, the creak a long, mournful note swallowed by the thick silence. Below, the faint glow pulses softly, pale and wavering, like a distant star caught beneath the waves. It stains the dark with a hue that twists the shadows, casting long fingers across barrels and crates stacked high. In careless heaps, the air is thick with a heavier quiet, damp earth tangled with salt and the faintest trace of ancient smoke long vanished. You step down the narrow ladder, the worn wood cold, despite the slow warmth rising from your steady breath. Your hands brush the rough surfaces around you, the cracked paint on a crate, the brittle edges of a broken lantern long ago extinguished. Below the boat, the pulse of light sways gently with the current, a heartbeat steady but strange, as if the river itself holds its breath in liquid expectation. The scent of wet straw and fading parchment stirs faintly, pulling at your memory like a thread just beyond reach. You follow the glow carefully, fingers grazing the cool surface of the hull, tracing slow, purposeful lines into the dark. Somewhere beneath the persistent rhythm of water, a faint hum rises, like the voices of old stories stretched thin across time, held just beneath the surface of waking. At the edge of the glow, you find a shallow basin carved into the wood, filled with a thick, pulsing liquid that catches the light in soft, undulating waves. Your reflection stares back, pale and wavering, fractured by the movement. You reach out, fingertips skimming the surface, feeling the cool resistance like liquid glass. The river's breath hums through your skin, chilling but not unwelcome, a fragile tether between past and present. As your hand withdraws, the glow dims, retreating slowly, swallowed once more by the deep shadows. The quiet settles again, heavy and thick, like velvet draped over your shoulders. You trace the basin's edge, the grooves worn smooth by time and touch. Close your eyes briefly, imagining the faces, the stories, the endless river carrying sorrow and secrets alike. Back above deck, the sun struggles higher, casting a weak, watery gold through the cabin window. You rise, each movement measured, every step a careful echo over the trembling wood. The ropes hang limp, their coarse fibers soaked in salt and shadow, and the sails rustle faintly in the soft morning breeze, like a whispered warning carried on the Nile's breath. Your gaze flickers again to the urns, their cracked surfaces catching the shifting light. Mottled stains appear like ancient hieroglyphs, telling tales only the river remembers. You lean closer, inhaling the musty scent of earth and old ash. And, for a moment, the world blurs, a mingling of the present and the long ago, an unspoken promise stretched thin across time. A subtle shift beside you pulls your attention. Your fellow watcher moves with slow grace, their eyes sharper than before, watching the horizon where pale mist clings stubbornly to the water. There is weight in their gaze, silent understanding of the river's unsettled breath, something lingering, waiting just beyond sight. The boat rocks gently once more, a soft groan escaping the timbers as the sun pushes aside the final shadows. You close your eyes briefly, allowing the fragile light to wash over your face, the chill of night retreating but not quite gone. The river's pulse matches your own steady, slow heartbeat, a cadence as ancient as the shifting sands and whispering. Papyrus. Suddenly, faint and insistent, the tapping returns, this time softer, more rhythmic, like a code written in the language of patience and quiet dread. You freeze, hand tightening on the railing, knuckles pale in the shifting light. Somewhere beneath the hull, the pale glow flickers again, brighter, though no less strange, casting ghostly shapes that dance just beyond the reach of understanding. Your breath stills as the boat creaks beneath you, holding a secret just out of reach. The night felt alive, but now the day conceals something deeper, waiting in the pause between heartbeats, in the fragile thinning of the river mist. And as the light pulses slowly beneath the waterline, you know this is only the beginning. You step back onto the deck, the morning light stretching its pale fingers slowly. Over the worn wood, the chill lingers, a quiet steel, pressing into your skin. Yet the shifting warmth of the sun's tentative glow begins to soak into the weathered boards beneath your boots. The river's breath remains steady, a soft murmur entwined with the creak of timbers and the low slap of water against the hull. But beneath it all, the pulse of that faint, eerie light hums deep inside the boat like a secret kept too long. Your fingers tighten around the coarse railing, knuckles fading to white against its splintered grip. The air feels thicker here, dense as damp earth after long rain, carrying the faintest trace of slow-burning smoke, a whisper of something forgotten and yet somehow waiting. You glance toward the horizon, where the morning mist clings like a shroud, blurring the edges of distant reeds and softening the shapes of papyrus leaves, trembling lightly in the breeze. The world feels suspended, caught between moments just beyond grasp. Drawn by a restless impulse, you move once more toward the hatch. The metal ring feels cold in your palm, slick with dew and the residue of countless dawns. The tap repeats, softer now, but no less deliberate, steady, measured, pacing like a slow heartbeat, echoing in the hollow. You lift the hatch and descend, breath steadying against the cool gloom below. The faint glow pulses again, pale and wavering, as if the river itself were breathing beneath the vessel. It stretches along the curved hull, painting ghostly fingers onto crates and barrels piled carelessly. The scent of wet straw curls around you like a thick fog mixed with the musky tang of faded parchment and the shadow of ancient fire. Your fingers brush the cracked paint on a barrel's edge, cool, rough, recalling the countless hands that once touched this same wood. Hands now lost to time and river mist. You crouch by the basin nestled in the gloom, the thick liquid shifting slowly beneath the uneasy light. The surface ripples with your breath's soft caress, cool and unyielding beneath your touch, like water trapped inside a pane of glass. The pulsation in the depths hums low, a muted song with no clear words, but heavy with history and longing. You fold the papyrus carefully, its brittle edges whispering against your palm as you tuck it away beneath your shirt, heart quickening slightly in the stillness. Every movement feels magnified, deliberate, a sacred ritual repeated across eras. Your senses reach outward, tasting the heavy air, brushing the rough ropes that hang limp, dripping faint beads from threads unraveling one by one. The slow rustle of linen from somewhere distant makes your skin prickle, a silent promise that this vessel holds more than rotten wood and lingering shadows. Returning above, the light has grown, casting golden tones that fight softly with the lingering blue of remnants past night. The sails sway faintly, whispering secrets in the rising breeze. You pause before the urns, their cracked surfaces mottled with stains that catch the shifting light like faded memories etched in clay. There is a stillness here, a fragile pause, as if they too listen for whatever voice breathes beneath. The waterline. Your gaze flickers to the horizon again. Through the veil of mist, the river seems endless, still, yet constantly moving, carrying all the forgotten stories on its slow, relentless journey. The distant cry of a bird cuts across the hush, fleeting and sharp, a cracked note that breaks the fragile calm. Suddenly, a subtle shift in the atmosphere pulls at you, a taut thread stretching tight as the boat groans softly beneath your feet. The tapping returns, closer now, rhythm, steady and slow, as if edged with meaning, just beyond your reach. Your hand clenches the railing, fingers trembling, breath holding in your throat as the glow below swells, pale light spilling like liquid moon across the shadowed planks. The cabin holds its breath with you, silence deepening into weight, heavy and palpable. You feel the river's pulse echoing beneath the hull, an endless rhythm shifting between worlds. Time seems to hang, stretched thin, like the fragile papyrus in your palm. Then, just as the glow surges brighter, a new sound threads in. Soft, deliberate footsteps on the upper deck, slow and measured, drawing ever closer. The steady pulse of the light flickers like a faltering heartbeat, and with it the quiet certainty that something stirring beneath the surface is waking. You freeze, senses sharp and alert, the cold pressing deeper into your bones as the footsteps draw nearer. The boat creaks again, steady and slow, like a giant breathing through slumber. Shadows twist on the cabin walls, shapes bending with the pulsing light, and somewhere nearby, the grasp of yesterday tightens its hold. In the fading morning haze, you stand alone on the deck, guardian and witness suspended between the river's ancient breath and whatever awakening stirs just beyond the edge of sight, waiting to step from shadow into light. You step cautiously back on the deck, the cool morning light brushing your skin like a hesitant breath. The boat rocks ever so slightly beneath you, its timbers groaning with an ancient patience as the Nile's slow current nudges its fragile frame forward. The faint glow below the waterline pulses again, steady, pale, and beneath its soft rhythm, the silence deepens, wrapping you in a quiet so complete it presses against your ears. Your fingers curl around the splintered railing, tracing the rough grooves worn smooth by countless hands before yours. The salt and dampness cling to the coarse wood, a lingering touch of the river's endless passage. You breathe in slowly, the heavy air thick with the scent of wet earth and faint smoke. Remnants of a fire long out, yet still carrying a whisper of warmth. You move deliberately toward the prow, each step careful, the boards beneath your boots slick with river moisture. The sails, torn and faded, sway lazily in the soft breeze, their tattered edges brushing against one another like whispered secrets. The pale morning mist clings low to the water's surface, blurring the line between river and sky, a muted boundary dissolving in the cool light. Your eyes settle on the horizon, where reed beds and papyrus sway silently, seemingly frozen in the stillness. A faint touch of sunlight glints off the water, fractured and scattered like tiny shards of glass. Somewhere far off, a distant bird's cry pierces the quiet, a cracked, lonely sound that fades almost as quickly as it arrives. The tapping from below repeats, soft, measured, a slow Morse of patience and mystery. It draws you, impossibly, toward the hatch once more. Your hand closes around the cold metal ring, slick with the residue of subtle, persistent moisture. Your breath catches as you lift it slowly, the creak of the opening door, stretched thin in the thick silence. Descending now, the pulsing light bathes the cramped space beneath the deck in an eerie glow. Shapes twist and swim along the curved hull, barrels and crates taking on strange forms as shadows writhe and lengthen. The air here tastes heavier, like damp straw mixing with the fading memory of smoke and something else, something older, buried deep beneath the weight of time. Your fingertips brush the cracked paint of a barrel, rough and cold, grounding you in this suspended moment. The liquid in the shallow basin near you shifts with the gentle current, its surface broken by soft ripples like a breath held too long. As your hand skims the water, the pulse beneath it throbs quietly, a steady heartbeat beneath the river's calm facade. The papyrus tucked close to your chest twists in your palm, brittle and fragile, yet stubbornly alive beneath the fabric of your shirt. The ancient symbols call to you in a language just out of reach, murmuring fragments of forgotten tales traced in ink and memory. You fold it carefully, your movements slow and deliberate, reverent. The creak of the boat above mixes with a faint rustle somewhere deeper within the hull. The sound of fabric shifting, tentative as a ghostly breath. Your heart picks up pace, though your face remains calm, steady. Somewhere in the shadows, the feeling of eyes unseen watches, waiting. You press your palm against the rough wood of the vessel's ribs, feeling the life pulsing through every grain, a slow, inevitable heartbeat, sharing its fragile rhythm with your own. The river's murmur slips into your mind, threading through thought and silence, an ancient lull woven with current and time. Rising carefully, you climb back onto the deck, just as the sun pushes a weak, watery warmth through the remaining haze. The light paints the worn wood in muted gold, casting long, tremulous fingers that reach across the deck like hesitant flames. The sails respond with a gentle whisper, a susurration caught in the morning air. Your eyes search again among the urns clustered in shadows, their surfaces mottled and scarred by countless years. Each crack, each stain holds a story swallowed by dust and river mist, silent witnesses to journeys both past and present. You lean forward, inhaling the rich scent of earth and old ash, a fragrance thick and heavy, settling like a quiet weight upon your senses. The boat sways with the current, its slow rocking like the breath of some ancient creature stirring beneath the Nile's surface. A chill laces the air, threading through your spine even as the sun rises higher. You glance toward the hazy horizon where reeds bow gently and papyrus leaves shiver in the subtle breeze. Suddenly, the tapping returns, close now, intimate, each tap deliberate, paced and patient as the river itself. Your fingers tighten on the railing, white-knuckled. The faint glow beneath the water grows stronger, spilling soft light that swims in pools against the shadowed planks. Then, almost imperceptibly, new sounds weave into the fabric of the morning. Slow footsteps on the deck, careful but unhurried, drawing closer with a measured inevitability. Your breath stills, the cold winding deeper into your bones. The boat creaks again, joints groaning under the weight of a secret awakening. Shadows twist and flutter against the walls of the cabin, flickering with the pulses of the ghostly light. Time narrows, compressed into a fragile thinness like the delicate papyrus pressed against your heart. Eyes unseen seem to pierce the veil of dawn, waiting just beyond the fragile edge of vision. And then, as the glow blossoms suddenly brighter beneath you, a soft shuddering sound reverberates, a slow trembling vibration humming through the wooden ribs of the boat, like the river itself, waking from a long, restless sleep, ready to release what it has kept hidden for so long. You remain frozen on the deck, the rhythm of those slow footsteps, carving their way through the thick morning haze, each step a measured beat against the aged wood beneath your boots. The pulsing glow beneath the hull wavers, casting trembling shadows that dance along the cabin walls like restless spirits, reaching out just beyond the veil of daylight. Your hand lingers on the splintered railing, the coarse grain biting gently into your skin, as if grounding you to the fragile moment, suspended between breath and silence. The air around you thickens, heavy with the mingling scents of wet straw and cold earth. A hint of smoke from long dead fires curling quietly beneath the steady pulse of the river's secret heartbeat. You hold your breath, senses sharpened, waiting for whatever unseen tide is rising to break the surface of this still morning. A faint, almost imperceptible shiver crawls up your spine as the slow steps draw nearer, then pause just beyond sight. Your eyes drift to the urns clustered in the dim corner, their mottled surfaces mottled and cracked, telling silent stories of years etched into fragile clay. For a moment, you reach toward them, tracing the jagged lines with cautious fingertips, grounding yourself in the cold reality of faded earth and settled dust. The fragility there contrasts sharply with the weight pressing against your chest, that aching certainty of a presence not quite seen, watching from shadow. Slowly the footsteps retreat, fading into the muted whispers of the river and the soft rustle of drying sails. You release a held breath, though the chill remains lodged deep. A persistent echo beneath your skin. The glow pulses once more beneath the hull, stronger this time. A pale, wavering light that pushes against the darkness in slow, hypnotic waves. It is a heartbeat out of sync, drawn from depths you cannot yet fathom. You turn away from the railing, moving toward the hatch with deliberate care, each step measured against the boat's gentle rocking. The rough wood beneath your boots feels steady, even as the mist curls thick around the prow. Your hand closes again on the cold metal ring, slick and cool from lingering dew, and you pause, the slow tapping echoing faintly from below. The sound reverberates in the hollow space beneath the deck, a slow, melancholic rhythm that pulls you downward like a tide. Descending the narrow ladder, the glow grows brighter, casting eerie light that spills across barrels stacked haphazardly, their surfaces scarred by the passage of untold years. The air is dense and musty, saturated with the thick scent of straw and old parchment, curling around you like a ghostly embrace. Fingertips brush the cracked paint on a nearby crate, cold and rough, grounding you in the physical world, even as the pulsing light invites something otherworldly. Ahead, the basin shimmers with the slow undulation of thick, dark liquid moving beneath the wavering glow. The surface ripples faintly under your touch, cool and unyielding, a mirror fractured by the subtle current. You watch your reflection there, ghost-like and blurred, fading in and out with the pulse beneath the water, a silent reminder of the thin, delicate boundary between the present moment and the ancient mysteries the river carries. The brittle scrap of papyrus tucked close to your chest feels impossibly fragile, the inked symbols whispering in a language you almost remember, like the fading echo of a dream slipping away at dawn. You fold it carefully, the edges crisp and dry, and slide it beneath your shirt again, the fragile knowledge a secret warmth against the chill of the boat's wooden ribs. As you rise, the dusty air stirs with a faint rustling sound somewhere deep within the hull, soft, tentative, as if something breathes quietly beneath the weight of centuries. Your heart beats steady but alert, the river's pulse threading through your veins like a slow, relentless song. Back on deck, the light has shifted to hazy gold, filtering weakly through the pale sky to touch the peeling paint on weathered walls and the stained fabric of the sail, hanging limp like forgotten skin. The river lies still and watchful, papyrus leaves trembling in the gentle breeze as the boat sways lightly with the current. A soft dance of wood and water, ancient and unbroken. Your eyes return to the urns, their surfaces pitted with time, shadows moving across their cracked faces like memories too heavy to bear. You lean in, inhaling the thick scent of dust, ash, and earth, a rich, heavy weight that settles like a benediction. Somewhere beyond, the distant cry of a bird slices the quiet, sharp and solitary, vanishing too quickly into the vastness. Then, once again, the tapping returns, softer now, patient and deliberate, carrying a hidden message that tugs at the edges of your mind. Your fingers tighten on the railing, white-knuckled, as the glow beneath the water swells, spilling a pale light that slips through cracks and pools between the planks like liquid moon. A sudden movement catches your eye from the corner of the cabin. The shadows twist and stretch, bending one way then another, as if breathing with the pulse beneath the boat. The air thickens, the atmosphere taut with expectation. The slow footsteps begin anew, bending closer, the unseen presence edging nearer to unseen revelation. You freeze, every nerve alert, chilled by a silence so deep it presses in from all sides. A silence louder than any sound. The glow beneath you pulses once, sharp and bright, then fades away swiftly, swallowed by the dark. In that vanished light, a single handprint appears on the fogged glass of the small porthole, faint, tremulous, as if pressed there by a witness from across the river of unspoken time. You remain motionless for a long moment, the slow footsteps having faded to silence, but leaving a thick residue of expectation hovering in the air. The pale glow beneath the hull pulses faintly, as if reluctant to release its secret. Soft waves of light folding into the dimness. You blink slowly, eyes adjusting to the fragile half-light as the river's breath sighs quietly around you, a steady murmur beneath the gentle creaking of timber. The world contracts to this narrow beam of flickering luminance, and the mottled shadows clinging to the cabin's time-worn walls. You trace your fingers once more over the splintered railing, its rough grain biting gently into your skin like a lingering memory. The dampness that clings here carries the faint scent of earth and smoke, a shadow of flames long extinguished but stubbornly held in the air, threading through the heavy stillness. The river lies silent and watchful beyond the porthole, reeds blurred to ghostly whispers by the morning haze, the steady pulse below echoing your slowed heartbeat. With measured steps, you turn back toward the hatch. The metal ring feels damp and cool beneath your fingers, its surface slick with the dew of early dawn and the residue of decades past. The faint tapping begins once again, soft, deliberate, and unhurried, beckoning your descent into the unknown depths below. Your breath catches, thickens as you pull open the hatch with gentle care, the slow creak stretching thin into the quiet like a muted sigh. Descending into the cramped shadow beneath the deck, you are greeted by the wavering glow. It dances silently against barrels and crates, casting the worn wood into strange, flickering shapes. The scent of wet straw and faded parchment clings close, mingling with the lingering trace of old fire, smoke that has long lost its heat, but still haunts these walls like a whispered farewell. Your fingertips brush cracked paint, coarse and cold, grounding you as the hushed rhythm of the light pulses beneath the water's veil. Ahead lies the shallow basin, its thick, rippling surface catching the eerie luminescence in soft waves. You reach out, fingertips skimming the cool resistance of liquid glass, feeling a chill that seeps through the skin but carries no threat. Only a tenuous bridge crossing centuries. The glow's rhythm hums low beneath your touch, slow and steady, an echo of distant histories folded deep into the river's bones. The fragile scrap of papyrus pulses faintly against your chest beneath the shirt. You fold it with utmost care, edges crisp but brittle. The faded ink whispering old tales bound by water and time. The ancient symbols crawl with half-remembered promises, as if alive just at the edge of your knowing. You tuck the precious parchment close again, a fragile warmth against the persistent cold pressing up from the boat's wooden ribs. A subtle movement stirs from the darkest corner, a brushing sound, soft and breath-like, barely more than a whisper against your ears. Your heart quickens just enough to remind you of the river's depths, concealing more than water. The silence tightens, thick as wet cloth, threading slowly through the confined space. You pause, breath shallow, listening to the slow creak of the hull, the gentle slap of current, and the persistent rhythm of the glow. The river's secret stirs beneath your skin. Rising carefully, you ascend the ladder, the steps groaning quietly in response to your weight. Back on deck, the warming light of morning presses slowly over the horizon, a pale silver washing over the wood and the faded sails that hang limp like tired wings. The air is still cool, but carries a trace of fragile hope, like the barest ray of sun sifting through storm-gray clouds. The soft rustle of fabric and the distant call of a lone bird punctuate the stillness. Your gaze drifts toward the urns clustered in shadow, their cracked and mottled surfaces etched with stains that glow softly in the light. A silent story of time's slow passage pressed into clay. You lean in close, inhaling the musty, rich scent of earth and ashes, feeling the weight of centuries folding over you like a delicate shroud. Somewhere beyond, the river murmurs low and slow, threading through reed and papyrus alike. The tapping resumes again, softer now, patient and full of quiet intent. Your fingers tighten instinctively around the rough railing, knuckles pale where the wood bites. The pale glow beneath the water brightens, spilling ghostly pools that crawl beneath the deckboards like liquid moonlight. Shadows twist and shift with the flickering rhythm, bending with a life all their own. Then, from the corner of your eye, a subtle shimmer, a movement barely there, a faint pulse of warmth touching the back of your neck. Your breath stills completely, the drone of life on the river momentarily hushed by the charged silence. The slow footsteps begin anew above, even closer, deliberate and unbroken, each step a measured verse in the quiet hymn of the dawn. You do not move, rooted as a cold presence slides along the edges of your awareness, drawing nearer without sound or shape. The boat creaks softly beneath you, a heavy exhalation from an ancient beast rousing slowly from slumber. Light pulses beneath the hull in time with your own ragged heartbeat, each beat a thin thread stretching taut between shadow and sunrise. And then, just as the pale glow swells considerably, broadening across the planks in liquid tides, you notice it, the reflection of a pale hand pressed lightly against the fogged glass of the small porthole. Its outline blurs gently, trembling like a breath held too long, a silent witness cast in fragile white, waiting for the river to let it step beyond the veil. You stand frozen, breath shallow, as the slow footsteps fade into the thick morning haze, leaving behind only the residue of anticipation, clinging like damp mist. The pale glow beneath the hull pulses steadily, reluctant but unyielding, casting fragile waves of light that fold and unfold like whispered secrets against barrels and crates. The air feels heavy around you, thick with the scent of wet straw and cold earth, mingled faintly with the lingering ghost of smoke long extinguished, an ember of memory settling quietly at the edge of your senses. You move slowly, each step deliberate, back toward the hatch. Fingers curl around the cool metal ring, slick with dew and the residue of countless sunrises. Your palm steady, though your heart drums an uneven rhythm beneath your ribs. The faint tapping resumes, soft, measured, like a gentle beckoning from the depths. Your breath catches, and with a careful lift, the hatch creaks open, the sound long and mournful, swallowed immediately by the heavy silence. Descending the narrow ladder, the glow intensifies, pale and flickering like the heartbeat of some ancient creature resting beneath the waves. Shadows twist and stretch across haphazardly piled barrels, their surfaces scarred by time, worn by countless hands that belong now only to memory. The air grows thicker here, saturated with the thick scent of damp straw and the faintest trace of long-dead fires, smoke that curls faintly like a whispered goodbye inside the cold wooden ribs. Your fingers brush the cracked paint along a crate's edge, cold and rough, grounding you in this fragile moment between past and present. Ahead, the shallow basin glows with an eerie, undulating light, its liquid surface rippling slowly beneath the pulsing glow. As your fingertips skim the cool, unyielding water, the chill seeps deep into your skin, bracing, yet strangely comforting. A reminder that the river's breath carries more than motion. A slow and steady song, bridging centuries. The scrap of papyrus, brittle beneath your shirt, presses softly against your chest. You fold it carefully, its edges crisp but fragile, the faded ink murmuring tales you almost remember, whispers of voices long drowned but never quite silent. You tuck it away again, a fragile shield. Against the deep cold pressing from the shadows around you, a barely perceptible rustle stirs from the darkness. A soft brush of fabric, almost like a breath, tentative, as if sensing your presence, but unwilling to reveal itself. Your pulse quickens, though your face holds calm resolve. Somewhere in these shadows, eyes unseen watch and wait, caught between the flow of the river and the stillness of the boat. You press your palm against the rough wooden ribs. Several seconds, feeling the ancient life pulsing beneath your touch, a slow, deliberate heartbeat shared quietly with your own. The river murmurs beneath the hull, threading its restless tide through thought and silence alike, an ancient lullaby that soothes and unsettles in equal measure. Rising carefully, the ladder groans gently beneath your weight. You push open the hatch once more and step back onto the deck. The pale morning light now stretches thin, weaving cold silver through the murky air, casting long, trembling fingers over the worn wood and faded sails that hang limply like tattered wings. The air remains crisp, but holds the faintest promise of warmth, a delicate breath of sun reaching through the lingering mist. The soft rustle of fabric plays like a gentle voice, and somewhere distant, a lonely cry of a bird slices the stillness, a brief, sharp note swallowed almost immediately by the vast expanse. You feel the slow sway of the boat beneath your boots, the gentle pulse of the Nile lapping softly, as if the river itself holds its breath in anticipation. Your gaze drifts again to the urns clustered in the deepest shadows, their cracked and mottled surfaces catching the light in trembling patterns, telling silent stories beneath the dust and river mist. You lean in closer, the musty scent of earth and cold ash thick upon your senses. A quiet weight, like a benediction folded through centuries. A subtle shift ripples through the air. The tapping returns, soft now, patient, deliberate, each beat like a slow heartbeat, carrying a message just beyond your grasp. Your fingers tighten around the railing's splintered wood, nails biting faint furrows into the rough grain. Beneath the deck, your neck like a whispered promise. Your breath stills. Silence presses in, thick and near, settling tightly, as if the boat itself waits with bated breath. The slow footsteps begin again, closer now, deliberate and unbroken, each step a quiet verse in the unfolding hymn of dawn. You remain rooted, senses straining in the heavy air. The boat creaks beneath you, a deep, slow exhalation from this ancient vessel, rousing from long slumber. Light pulses beneath the hull, in time with your heartbeat. Fragile threads stretched taut between shadow and growing light. Then, suddenly, lightly against the fogged glass, its outline shivers softly, trembling like a breath held too long. a silent witness waiting patiently on the other side of time. And in that fragile, fading touch, you feel it, the river's breath shifting, awakening the secrets long hidden beneath the endless flow. You stand still on the deck, the lingering chill of the river morning curling around you like a faded cloak. The pale glow beneath the hull has dimmed, retreating into silence, as if it knows its moment has passed for now. The slow footsteps, once a haunting verse in the early light, have vanished into the depths of memory, leaving only a warmth that hums faintly beneath your skin, a gentle pulse settling into steady calm. Your fingers release the railing, the rough wood, cool but no longer biting. The boat rocks softly, an ancient breath carried on the Nile's slow current. The sails, tattered and worn, hang motionless for a moment before catching the timid breeze, whispering their quiet farewell. The urns and shadow remain silent, their mottled surfaces etched with countless stories, now folded gently into the river's endless melody. You glance once more toward the horizon, where reeds and papyrus sway with delicate grace, bathed in the soft gold of a sun climbing higher. The mist has thinned, dissolving into the promise of a new day, balanced just so between memory and awakening. The steady slap of water against the hull marks time like a heartbeat, slow and sure. Carefully, you fold the fragile scrap of papyrus tucked close beneath your shirt. Its brittle edges softened in your palm, the faded symbols seem less mysterious now, less like whispers lost to time, and more like a lasting message, fragmented but true, waiting for someone to carry it forward. You tuck it away as a quiet shield against forgetting, a fragile anchor to all that has passed. Below deck, the basin of liquid stills, the eerie glow faded but not vanished entirely, resting like a sigh upon the wood. You imagine the countless hands that once touched this space, hands long gone, stories shared in silence and shadow, finally at peace beneath the steady pulse of river and sun. The faded scent of smoke and wet straw lingers faintly, weaving through your thoughts like an old lullaby. A soft rustling sound drifts from the folds of canvas and wood around you, just enough to remind you of presence without demanding attention. The boat's creaks settle into a soothing rhythm, the worn timbers stretching gently after a long watch. Outside, the air holds a subtle warmth, the river's breath now mingling with the sun's tentative caress. You close your eyes, letting the quiet wrap around you like a familiar song felt deep in the bones. The tension that once thrummed between shadow and light unfurls, replaced by a slow releasing, as if the waiting has come to rest. Within that stillness, you sense the river's endless journey, carrying all its secrets softly downstream, dissolving the old and making way for the new. Opening your eyes, you take a long breath of the cool, sweet air, earth and water. ash and dawn. The soft rustle of papyrus in your pocket reminds you of the delicate thread binding past to future. A fragile promise whispered in ink and vessel. You step forward, the boat's gentle sway steady beneath you, and let yourself be carried by the slow current, the faint pulse of life beneath the wood guiding you home. The horizon stretches wide and clear now, the mist gone and the sky warm with possibility. In this moment, the weight of watching and waiting feels lighter, softened by the slow unfolding of light and time. The river flows steady, ancient and unbroken, a quiet companion on the endless journey. As you lean against the railing once more, the cracked wood cool and familiar against your palm, the last echoes of the night slip away. The slow, steady creak of the vessel joins the chorus of water and wind, blending into the vast, gentle symphony of the Nile. And as the sun rises fully, casting long, golden fingers that stretch across the boat and river alike, a quiet peace settles deep in your bones. The story held in shadows and light has folded softly into the rhythm of the day, its secrets carried gently on the breath of the river. You take one last look around, the urns, the sail, the scattered light, and breathe in the moment fully, the cool promise of dawn and the calm after waiting. The river moves on, steady and sure, and in its endless flow, it carries you along, ever forward, toward whatever still quietly waits beyond the edges of sight and time. Your heartbeat slows to match the river's gentle pulse, the quiet music of wood and water, guiding you softly into the embrace of what comes next. The watch is ended, the shadows have lifted, and the gentle dawn holds you in its quiet, endless conversation. With eyes growing heavy and spirit soothed, you let the world blur slowly around the edges. The feel of the worn deck beneath your feet, the scent of earth and water carried faintly on the breath. The river's tale lingers, a whisper that draws you deeper into rest. And so, the boat rocks gently as the Nile flows ever onward, carrying you into a quiet sleep beneath an ancient, timeless sky, where stories drift slowly, softly, on the endless river breeze.